rocket scientist turned tech entrepreneur Elon Musk is back at it again, with SpaceX making remarkable strides in their quest to upgrade the Super Heavy. In this captivating video, Elon Musk shares thrilling insights into the tech marvel that ensures the stability operation of each engine. Focusing on the vital aspect of engine isolation, Musk elaborates on how a single failure won't imperil the neighboring engines or the stage itself. It's a feat that showcases the unmatched engineering prowess of SpaceX, reinforcing their commitment to push boundaries and cement their place in the cosmos. Prepare to be astounded by the brilliance of SpaceX and the unparalleled vision of Elon Musk. Feast your eyes on the lively discourse about engines, stability, and the visionary strides being taken by Musk and SpaceX in propelling us towards a future of interstellar exploration. Join the discussion now. Let's find out more in today's episode of AB Space.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of my channel.
The Super Heavy is the lifeblood of SpaceX's Starship space program. Without the Super Heavy, Starship would never be able to break through the bounds of the sky on its own. That's why SpaceX not only changes and develops numerous prototypes of the Starship spacecraft, but also crazily modifies and improves its colossal booster. We discussed a lot about Starship in previous episodes. So this video is for the other half of SpaceX's Starship's deep space transportation system, Super Heavy booster. Honestly, SpaceX and Elon Musk create SpaceX's monster weapon will absolutely leave you mind-boggled. Elon Musk unveiled SpaceX's first Starship Super Heavy booster on March 18, 2021, showcasing their progress in building an over 70-meter-tall stage. At the time, Musk mentioned that Booster 1 was a production pathfinder. He also expressed the intention for Booster 2 to be the one that would actually fly. However, despite the initial optimism, the reality is proven to be challenging. Even after 16 months since its launch, no Super Heavy prototypes taken flight. And the reality is that in just over a year, SpaceX has retired 5 official booster prototypes, BN1, BN2, BN3, BN4, and BN5. We can see that this timeline has demonstrated that SpaceX has faced numerous challenges and technical complexities in the development of Super Heavy. While the timeline may have experienced delays and setbacks, it also showcases SpaceX's commitment to refining its prototypes and pushing the boundaries of space exploration. Booster 4 was the first fully stacked prototype completed in August 2021 and was expected to perform its first orbital flight at that time. Unfortunately, Booster 4 and Ship 20 were retired shortly thereafter. Clearly, significant technical developments had taken place with the subsequent prototypes, rendering Booster 4 no longer their ideal choice. The space launch opportunity was passed on to Booster 7 and Booster 9, leading to 2 globally resonant launches in 2023. The shock was not because the Starship exploded, but because of its terrifying power demonstrated through the first moments of Super Heavy. Designed to launch Starship's massive namesake upper stage part of the way to orbit, Super Heavy is in many ways simpler than Starship, but just as complex and unprecedented in others. Ignoring SpaceX's unusual plans to have boosters land on huge mechanical arms installed on a skyscraper-sized tower, Super Heavy's a large vertical launch vertical landing a liquid rocket booster, the likes of which SpaceX already has extensive experience with through Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy. What mainly sets Super Heavy apart is its sheer scale. The Super Heavy booster has been stretched by 1 or 2 steel rings, reaching a new height of 71 meters compared to previous versions, and is almost as tall as an entire 2-stage Falcon 9 or Falcon Heavy rocket. At 9 meters wide, a single Super Heavy booster, effectively a giant steel tube, should be able to store at least 6 or 7 times as much propellant as Falcon 9, and about 2 to 3 times as much as Falcon Heavy. Engine count and peak thrust are similarly staggering. The expanded change compared to previous boosters lies in the number of engines. Instead of the 29 Raptor 1 engines installed on Super Heavy Booster 4, starting from Booster 7, all Super Heavy versions are designed to support up to 33 Raptors. When it comes to the combined thrust of the entire Super Heavy with 33 Raptor 2 engines, operating at that claimed thrust level, the booster could theoretically produce at least 40% more thrust than the previous Booster 4. This results in the Super Heavy generating thrust of up to 7,590 tons. 16.7 million pounds, when all engines are ignited, with each engine producing thrust up to 230 tons, or approximately 510,000 pounds. Even when all 33 engines never accelerate beyond 73%, SpaceX's Starship rocket can still produce more thrust than any other operational rocket in the world, surpassing even the legendary Saturn V moon rocket. However, this is only the power for SpaceX's Raptor 2 version. They have an upgraded version, Raptor 3, which SpaceX announced will increase thrust to 269 tons. It's not clear whether SpaceX will use Raptor 3 starting from which prototype, but they conducted a test of this new engine in May last year. Meanwhile, SpaceX and Elon Musk also announced larger and longer versions of the Starship, namely versions V2 and V3. There's no reason why there would be no changes to the Super Heavy. So information about this is likely to be disclosed soon. Additionally, in the development lifecycle of the Super Heavy, SpaceX and Elon Musk have made a series of changes to make the booster more robust and streamlined. This includes sleeker raceways, external conduits that protect wiring and smaller plumbing, a different layout of the pressure vessels, hydraulic power units, and an umbilical panel installed on its aft, and significant changes to the aero covers that slot over the aft hardware. The next two most substantial modifications made to Super Heavy are arguably a pair of straight-like aero covers, and the addition of large internal header tanks. A series of new sharp-edged aero covers is slotted over the top of two new pairs of 5 composited overwrap pressure vessels, COPs, that run about a third of the way up the Super Heavy booster since Booster 7. They will function a bit like streaks, fixed wing-like structures designed to improve aerodynamic stability. In comparison, Super Heavy B4 has 4 sets of 2 COPs spaced evenly around the outside of its engine section. SpaceX is to have upgraded Super Heavy with a full set of internal header tanks, meaning that it should now be able to store all needed landing propellant in separate tanks. That significantly decreases the amount of pressurization gas required and makes it much easier to ensure that Super Heavy's Raptor engines are fed with an uninterrupted flow of propellant during complex in-space and in-atmosphere maneuvers. Elon Musk and SpaceX continue to upgrade the Super Heavy as they transition from Booster 7 to Booster 9. While Booster 4 and Booster 7 use the hydraulic thrust vector control TBC system, Booster 9 and subsequent versions have been switched to an electric TBC system. This ensures the stability operation of each engine. If you have an extremely good engine isolation and an engine fails, it does not cause a failure of the neighboring engine or the stage itself, Elon Musk said. Because then if you lose one of the 33 engines, that's a 3% thrust loss. It's not a big deal. If you do not have a good engine isolation, then an engine failure can domino to other engines or parts of the stage, then you have an extremely unreliable design. Finally, one of the crucial and decisive changes for the success of the second line to Starship with Super Heavy starting from Booster 9 onwards is the stage separation method for SpaceX's rockets, which introduces a concept called hot staging. Although Booster 9 and Chip 25 were unfortunate not to survive, the moment of stage separation remains a spectacular performance that continues to leave a lasting impression on us now. It's not as simple as the previous planned bottle opening mechanism for the booster. Instead, hot staging involves a more complex requirement, where the engine control program must coordinate smoothly so that the engines on the booster stage cease operation, leaving only a few running while simultaneously igniting the engines on the upper stage. SpaceX also manufactures additional vintage shielding to protect the upper part of the booster from the heat generated by the engines of the upper stage. In general, SpaceX and Elon Musk always strive to the fullest with the design of Super Heavy. When talking about SpaceX, we often mention Starship and the Raptor engine. But let's not forget that the foundation for those innovations is the Falcon rocket and the Merlin engine. So far, rockets from the Falcon 9 family have been launched 301 times over 14 years, resulting in 299 full mission successes, 99.3%. Expressively, Elon Musk's SpaceX smashed its previous annual record for orbital rocket launches, pulling off 96 successful missions in 2023 at a blistering average launch pace of every 4 days, including 91 launches with its Falcon 9 rocket and another 5 with a Falcon Heavy, topping its previous annual record of 61 orbital launches in 2022. For context, SpaceX launched Falcon 9 more times last year than in the entire first decade after the rocket's debut. Along the way last year, SpaceX landed its 250th orbital rocket booster as well as launched and landed a single rocket 19 times, continuing to push the boundaries of reusing rockets. Besides, in the last week of December 2023, SpaceX also set a new company record for the shortest time between orbital launches at just under 3 hours. Wow, that represents the tightest time between Florida launches since NASA's Gemini 11 missions back in 1966. Most importantly, the Falcon 9 is currently the only American broomstick capable of launching NASA crew and cargo to the International Space Station. It's a valuable gift to the U.S. space industry, having completely eliminated the United States' nearly decade-long reliance on Russia back in 2020. Remember early 2021 when Russia's state space corporation Roscosmos issued its round of threats in response to global sanctions? This time, claiming Russia would no longer sell rocket engines to the United States? The head of Roscosmos, Dmitry Rogozhin, announced this policy. Today, we have made a decision to halt the deliveries of rocket engines produced by NPO Energonmash to the United States, Rogozhin said in the interview. Let me remind you that these deliveries had been quite intensive somewhere since the mid-1990s. Rogozhin also added, let them fly on something else. They're broomsticks, not on a what? This seems a very serious problem for the U.S. space industry at that time, but Rogozhin may have forgotten about the existence of SpaceX's Merlin engine. At that point, in response to Rogozhin's mockery when U.S. rockets broomsticks, Elon Musk shared a video of SpaceX launching 47 Starlink satellites from Launch Complex 39A, a Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Unsurprisingly, Rogozhin's throat was halted by this. Well, all of these wonderful things have been created by the genius engineering behind the SpaceX Merlin engine. You may not often hear, but the Merlin engine is the first new American booster engine in 10 years and only the second in over a quarter century. The prior two American engines were the RS-68 developed in the late 90s by Pratt & Whitney's Rocketdyne division, used in the Boeing Delta IV launch vehicle, and the Space Shuttle main engine developed in the late 70s also by Rocketdyne. The Merlin engine is also the only new hydrocarbon engine to be successfully developed and flown in the U.S. in the past 40 years. It has the highest thrust-weight ratio of any boost engine ever made. The 229 feet tall Falcon 9 is equipped with 9 Power for Merlin and 1D engines that are powered by a combination of rocket-grade kerosene known as RP-1 and liquid oxygen, LLX. It's capable of producing over 1.7 million pounds of thrust upon liftoff. The rocket's second stage is powered by a single Merlin engine which can carry 25 tons of payload to lower the orbit. The latest Merlin and 1D vacuum motors have a pushing capacity of 80 tons with a specific impulse of 348 seconds. After several years of use, according to daily astronaut data, these Merlin engines are 99.9% reliable and can be reused for about 10 flights for use in Falcon 1, Falcon 9, and Falcon Heavy. The liquid-propelled Merlin powers the Falcon propulsion system. The engine features a reliable turbo pump designed with a single shaft for the liquid oxygen pump, the fuel pump, and the turbine. The engine uses a gas generator cycle instead of the more complex stage combustion cycle. The regeneratively cooled nozzle and thrust chamber use a milled copper alloy liner that provides large heat flux margins. A pintle injector provides inherent combustion stability. The injector at the heart of Merlin is the pintle type that was first used in the Apollo Lunar Module Landing Engine, LMDE. Proponents are fed by a single-shaft dual-impeller turbopump. The turbopump also provides high-pressure fluid for the hydraulic actuators, which then recycles into the low-pressure inlet. This eliminates the need for a separate hydraulic drive system and means that thrust vectoring control failure by running out of hydraulic fluid is not possible. In recent years, the Merlin engine has consistently outperformed excellently in its missions. It's not just an experienced companion, it's also the stepping stone for Elon Musk to think of something even bigger. He aims for Mars, so he needs a bigger rocket with a more powerful engine. That's where SpaceX starts thinking about Raptor. Raptor heroes a significant improvement. One is that it has 3 times the thrust of its predecessor thanks to a much higher pressure. 510,000 pounds of thrust at sea level versus 190,000 pounds, despite being a similar size. The other is the use of methane. No methane-powered rocket is ever made into orbit, with Starhopper's test hop the other day being the first time a methane-powered rocket engine actually took flight. Methane prevents a buildup of deposits in the engine compared to other fuels like kerosene, a process known as coking, while its higher performance allows for lower costs. Raptor also uses what's known as a full-flow stage combustion engine, only the third engine in history to employ this technique. Whereas Merlin uses the more common open-cycle system. The previous two attempts at such an engine, one in the Soviet Union in the 1960s and another in the US in the early 2000s, never made it beyond testing. A full-flow stage combustion engine refers to how a pump spins a turbine to drive the engine, using what's called a pre-burner to get this process going by injecting a small amount of fuel. Normally, some of the propellants expended in a traditional open-cycle engine to start this process, but Raptor will use every drop of propellant available, making it one of the most efficient rocket engines ever built. So why doesn't SpaceX use the superior engine to replace the Merlin? And even if the reliability of the Raptor is proven, SpaceX still won't use it for Falcon 9. The primary reason for not using Raptor engines on the Falcon 9 is that it will require significant changes in the propellant tank and structural designs. Raptor engines, being more powerful, would make landing maneuvers challenging. During Falcon 9 landings, the Merlin 1D engine produces about 49 tons of thrust at minimum throttle, resulting in a thrust-to-weight ratio of nearly 2-to-1. If a single Raptor engine were used for landing, it would produce at least 92 tons of thrust, creating a thrust-to-weight ratio of 3.5-4-1. This higher ratio would stress the booster structure and demand more precise engine ignition timing to prevent the rocket from reaching zero velocity before landing. In addition to the power issue, using Raptor engines would require redesigning the structure, as methane used by Raptors has a different density than kerosene. The tanks and the thrust-bearing structure at the bottom of the booster octaweb would need adjustments. Even the piping from the tanks would have to change to match the different flow rates of the propellant. Beyond these technical challenges, adapting Falcon 9s or Raptor engines would divert resources from developing Starship. Unlike Falcon 9, Starship does not discard its second stage, making it more cost-effective per launch despite its larger size. And that's about it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in, and that's all for today's update. If you enjoyed watching and found it useful, please make sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button. And if you want to support our channel and if you want to be up to date, you can become an exclusive member, so click on our perks through the link in the description below. Thanks to watching and see you next time.